let me tell you something powerful today. You will never be able to sell until you learn how to sell yourself on yourself first. Now, that might sound simple, but it's the single greatest barrier between where you are and the life you want. People think selling is about products, about fancy presentations, about the perfect script. But here's the truth. Before anyone buys your product, they're buying you. If you don't believe in what you're offering, if you don't carry certainty in your voice, if you don't walk into the room knowing you're the solution to someone's problem, they'll sense it. And when they sense doubt, they'll walk away. You will never be able to sell until you sell yourself first. That's the absolute foundation of everything else in business, in leadership, in life. Because here's the truth before anyone else buys into your product, your service, or your vision, they are buying into you. And if you haven't sold yourself on who you are, what you stand for, and the value you bring to the marketplace, then every conversation you have with a prospect will leak uncertainty. People can sense it instantly. They can hear it in your tone, see it in your posture, and feel it in your energy. And when they sense doubt, they don't buy. Not because they didn't want the product, but because you weren't convinced enough to convince them. Let me give you the hook that will change how you see this forever. Confidence is the currency of sales. You can have the best script, the slickest pitch, the most polished presentation. But if you don't have confidence in yourself, it all falls apart. Selling yourself doesn't mean arrogance. It means certainty. It means you've looked in the mirror and decided that your story matters, your product matters, your voice matters. Because if you don't think you matter, nobody else will. Think about it. When you step into a room, you're not just selling a product, you're selling belief. You're saying to the person across from you, I know this will help you. I know this will change your life. But how can you transfer belief if you don't carry it? You can't pour water from an empty cup, and you can't sell from an empty conviction. So the very first sale you must make is the sale to yourself. You must be fully persuaded that you are the person with the solution they need. This is where most people get stuck. They practice the pitch 100 times, but they never practice the mindset. They polish their slides, but they never polish their self-belief. And so they sound rehearsed, but not real. What makes sales powerful is not perfection, it's passion. It's when you walk in so convinced of your own value that the other person can't help but lean in. They start believing because you believe. They start imagining a better future because you're already living in that imagination yourself. Here's another hook. People don't buy products. They buy certainty. They buy the confidence that what you have will solve their problem. They buy into the fact that you are the person to lead them. And when you've sold yourself, when you carry that certainty, people feel safe saying yes. The sale becomes less about persuasion and more about alignment. They don't feel pressured, they feel led. The moment you sell yourself, everything changes. Suddenly you don't chase clients, clients chase you. You don't discount your value, you demand it. You don't apologize for your price, you stand tall in it because you know the transformation you bring is priceless. And that conviction, that energy, that posture is magnetic. It draws people in and makes them want to be a part of what you're offering. You will never be able to sell until you sell yourself first. Once you do, the words come easier, the conversations flow smoother, and the opportunities multiply. Because people can resist your pitch, but they can't resist your certainty. And when you are sold on you, you become unstoppable. You will never be able to sell until you see selling as serving. This is the shift that separates those who struggle from those who thrive. Too many people see selling as manipulation, as convincing someone to do something they don't want to do. But that's a lie. Selling at its core is serving at the highest level. It's helping someone move from where they are to where they want to be. When you make that shift in your heart, everything about the way you sell changes. You stop chasing commissions and you start chasing contribution. You stop thinking about what you can get from the customer and you start thinking about what you can give them. And when people feel that your motive is to help, not to take, the resistance fades and trust is born. Here's the hook you need to remember: selling is love in action. If you truly love people, you won't hesitate to offer them the solution you know can improve their life. If you had the cure for someone's pain, you wouldn't keep it hidden. You would do everything in your power to get it into their hands, not because you want their money, but because you care about their transformation. That's what selling really is. It's not about pushing, it's about presenting. It's not about pressure, it's about possibility. When you see selling as serving, you stop feeling guilty and start feeling grateful for the opportunity to impact someone's life. Think about the last time you made a purchase that changed your life. Maybe it was a course, a book, a coach, or a product that shifted everything for you. Did you feel manipulated? No. You felt thankful that someone took the time to show you something you didn't know you needed. That's what your clients want too. They want someone to see their problem clearly and present a pathway forward with conviction. When you show up to serve, they feel seen. They feel understood. And most importantly, they feel valued. Here's another hook people don't buy because they're sold to. They buy because they feel served. When you approach every interaction with the mindset of serving, you separate yourself from the average salesperson who only cares about a quota. Customers can feel it. They can tell when your heart is in the right place. And when they sense that, they lean in. They listen. They trust. And trust is the foundation of every great sale. When you see selling as serving, rejection doesn't discourage you anymore. Why? Because you know you're not trying to convince, you're simply trying to contribute. If someone says no, it doesn't mean you failed. It just means they weren't ready for the level of help you offered. And because your heart is set on service, you move on with confidence, not shame. You know there are others out there waiting for what only you can provide. The moment you align your sales with service, you unlock a new level of power. You stop worrying about being pushy because you're not pushing, you're leading. You stop fearing rejection because your focus isn't on the transaction, it's on the transformation. And that shift makes your conversations authentic, your offers irresistible, and your impact undeniable. Because when selling becomes serving, it stops being about you and starts being about them. And that's when sales stop being hard and start becoming natural. You will never be able to sell until you master the transfer of belief. That's the invisible transaction happening in every conversation, in every presentation, in every sale. People think they are buying a product or a service, but what they are really buying is the belief that this product or service will make their lives better. And here's the truth. If you don't believe in it with every fiber of your being, there's no way you can transfer that belief to someone else. Selling is not about information, it's about transformation. It's not about numbers, it's about conviction. People aren't looking for data, they're looking for certainty. And when you carry that certainty, you become magnetic. Here's the hook. People don't buy the best product. They buy the product they believe in the most. And belief is contagious. If you're half-hearted, they'll feel it. If you're unsure, they'll hesitate. But if you're convinced, if you're passionate, If you speak with unwavering confidence, they will catch that belief. Think about a fire. One small flame can ignite an entire room. Your belief is that flame. If it's burning weak, nobody notices. But if it's blazing strong, people can't help but be drawn to it. That's the transfer of belief. The way you communicate isn't just in your words, it's in your presence. People are constantly scanning for signals. Do you believe what you're saying? Do you trust what you're offering? Do you see it as valuable? If your energy says yes, they'll lean in. If your energy says no, they'll pull away. This is why so many people struggle in sales. They try to convince others while they themselves remain unconvinced. And here's the reality. You can't sell something you're not sold on. You can't lead someone into belief if you're standing in doubt. Here's another hook. Selling is not transferring logic, it's transferring certainty. You can give someone all the statistics, all the features, all the data, and still lose the sale. Why? Because people don't make decisions from logic first, they make decisions from emotion. Logic might support the decision, but emotion drives it. Belief is what stirs that emotion. Belief is what makes people say, yes, this is what I've been looking for. And when you transfer that belief, you make it easy for them to say yes. Think about some of the most influential leaders in history. They weren't the ones with the most facts. They were the ones with the most faith. They spoke with such conviction that others couldn't help but believe. That's the same energy you need in sales. When you master the transfer of belief, you don't sound like a salesperson. You sound like a leader. You don't sound desperate, you sound certain, and people follow certainty. Every sale is a test of belief. Do you believe in your product more than they believe in their excuses? Do you believe in your solution more than they believe in their fears? If the answer is yes, then your conviction will carry the conversation. Your faith will outweigh their doubt. Your certainty will crush their hesitation. That's the power of mastering the transfer of belief. When you walk into a room already convinced, you make it easy for others to become convinced too. And in that moment, selling stops being a struggle and becomes a natural flow of influence. You will never be able to sell until you tell your story with power. Facts will only get you so far, but stories move hearts, and hearts make decisions long before the head ever catches up. People don't remember data. They remember how you made them feel. And the fastest way to make someone feel is to take them on a journey through your story. But here's the challenge. Most people either hide their story because of shame or they water it down because of fear. They think nobody wants to hear about their struggles, their failures, their setbacks. The truth is the opposite. People connect with you not because you are perfect, but because you are real. Here's the hook. Your story is the bridge between their pain and your promise. Without your story, they can't see how you understand their struggle. They can't see why you're qualified to lead them out of it. But when you share your journey, the obstacles, the lessons, the turning points, you're not just telling them what's possible, you're showing them proof. Proof that you've been where they are and proof that transformation is available for them too. Stories sell because stories create belief. Think about every great speaker, every great leader, every great salesperson. What sets them apart is not their ability to recite features and benefits. What sets them apart is their ability to weave a story that makes people see themselves in it. A good story creates empathy. It makes the listener think, that's me, that's my life, that's my problem. And the moment they see themselves in your story, they become open to your solution. Without that emotional connection, your facts will bounce off like rubber bullets. Here's another hook. Your scars are your sales tools. The things you've been through, the things you've overcome, the challenges you've conquered, those are the very things that qualify you to lead others. Too many people disqualify themselves because of their past, not realizing that their past is the most powerful part of their pitch. When you tell your story authentically, you're not just offering a product, you're offering hope. And hope is more valuable than any feature you could list. Stories also create trust. In a world full of polished ads and fake promises, authenticity cuts through the noise. When you tell your story without trying to sound perfect, people relax. They say, finally, someone real, someone who gets it. And that's when they start leaning toward you, not away from you. They stop treating you like a salesperson and start seeing you as a guide. That shift changes everything. Selling through story doesn't mean making yourself the hero. It means positioning yourself as the guide who helps the customer become the hero. They don't just want to hear about your success. They want to know how your story can unlock their own. The power of your story is not in the details, it's in the connection. It's in the way it builds belief, trust, and vision. When you tell it with confidence, passion, and vulnerability, you give people permission to believe in their own story too. Every story you tell has the power to open a door. It can move someone from doubt to belief, from hesitation to decision, from fear to faith. And once they see the possibility in your story, they're far more willing to step into that possibility for themselves. That's why you will never be able to sell until you learn to tell your story with power. Because facts might convince the mind, but stories convert the heart, and the heart always buys first. You will never be able to sell until you value transformation over transaction. This is where most people miss the mark. They walk into every sales conversation thinking about their quota, their commission, their next paycheck. And when that's the focus, customers can feel it. They feel like you're more interested in their wallet than their well-being, more focused on closing a deal than opening a door to change. The truth is this money follows impact. The deeper the transformation you create in people's lives, the bigger the financial rewards that flow back to you. When you flip the script and put transformation first, selling stops feeling like pressure and starts feeling like purpose. Here's the hook. The world doesn't reward takers. It rewards transformers. If all you want is a quick sale, you might get a transaction today, but you won't create loyalty, referrals, or long-term success. But if you focus on helping someone get real results, they'll never forget you. They'll come back for more. They'll tell their friends. They'll see you not just as a salesperson, but as a trusted partner in their growth. That's how businesses scale, not by chasing dollars, but by chasing difference. Think about the last time someone sold you something. Did you feel like a number, or did you feel like a person? Did you feel like they were interested in your life, your needs, your goals, or just interested in your card swipe? The sellers who only chase the transaction usually burn bridges. The ones who focus on transformation build legacies. People don't want to buy from someone who sees them as a dollar sign. They want to buy from someone who sees them as a human being with hopes, fears, and desires. Here's another hook. Transformation creates trust, and trust creates wealth. When people trust that you're committed to their outcome, they open up, they listen differently, they respond differently. And when you deliver on that transformation, you no longer need to convince them of anything else. You've earned their belief. That belief turns one sale into many, one client into a community, one transaction into a testimony. Your ability to deliver transformation is the key to creating unstoppable momentum. When you value transformation over transaction, you also stop discounting your worth. Why? Because you know you're not just offering a product, you're offering a life-changing result. When you believe in the magnitude of the change you bring, you stop apologizing for your price. You stand in confidence because you know the transformation is priceless compared to the cost. People don't argue with price when they see the value of change. They only argue when they sense the focus is on profit, not progress. The most successful entrepreneurs, leaders, and salespeople understand this principle. They don't just ask, how can I make a sale today? They ask, how can I change a life today? That shift is what separates mediocrity from mastery. Because when you put transformation first, you not only win the sale, you win the person. And winning the person is what keeps success flowing long after the first transaction. So the next time you step into a sales conversation, check your focus. Are you chasing a transaction or are you creating a transformation? When you focus on the latter, money becomes the natural byproduct of the impact you've made. And that's when selling becomes sustainable, scalable, and deeply fulfilling. You will never be able to sell until you lead with certainty. People don't follow products, they follow leaders. They don't buy information, they buy confidence. And the reality is this: every prospect is looking for someone to guide them out of confusion and into clarity. If you show up hesitant, if you show up unsure, if you show up sounding like you're asking for permission, they will follow their doubts instead of your direction. Selling is not just communication, it's leadership. And leadership requires certainty. Here's the hook. Confidence closes more deals than cleverness ever will. You can know every objection script, every closing line, every marketing trick in the book. But if you lack confidence, it all crumbles. People don't buy from the smartest person in the room. They buy from the most certain person in the room. Certainty is magnetic. It creates a sense of safety. It makes people feel like, if I go with this person, I won't get lost. That sense of safety is what opens the door to trust, and trust opens the door to sales. Certainty isn't loud arrogance. It's quiet conviction. It's the unshakable belief that what you have will work for the person in front of you. When you carry that belief, it comes through in your body language, in your tone, in the way you answer questions. People don't just hear your words, they feel your posture. And when your posture says, I know this is the solution you need, it creates confidence in them. That's why uncertainty kills sales faster than anything else. Because if you're not sure, why should they be? Here's another hook. People buy with faith, not fear. And the role of the seller is to lead people into faith. Faith that the product will work. Faith that the service will deliver. Faith that the investment will be worth it. If you want people to take a leap, you have to show them that you've already landed. You can't lead someone into belief while standing in doubt yourself. Certainty is the bridge that allows them to walk from hesitation to decision. Think about the last time you followed someone into unfamiliar territory. Maybe a mentor, a coach, or even a GPS system. You followed because you trusted. And you trusted because they seemed certain. That's how selling works. Your client may not know all the details, but if they trust your certainty, they'll step forward anyway. They'll borrow your confidence until they have their own. And that's what leadership in sales really is, lending people your certainty until their belief catches up. When you lead with certainty, objections shrink, price resistance weakens, hesitation dissolves. Why? Because your energy tells them this is the way. And deep down, people are tired of confusion. They are tired of indecision. They are looking for someone bold enough to say, follow me, I'll show you how. That's what makes sales powerful. It's not manipulation, it's leadership. Every sale is a test of who carries more certainty, you or the doubt in the customer's mind. If you hesitate, their doubt wins. If you stand firm, your conviction wins. That's why you must walk into every conversation with authority, not apology, with clarity, not confusion, with certainty, not hesitation. Because the moment you lead with certainty, you make it easy for people to say yes. And yes is the only word that moves their life and your business forward.